So, Bob, let's start with the easy one. Just what you see when you look at Baylor. Um, how good are they? Are they worthy of number two?
Oh yeah, I think without a doubt they are. Their three guards are terrific. I mean, uh, one's better than the other one. I mean, they just keep coming at you, and then they bring some people off the bench. Their bigs are um, they're terrific because they fill their roles. They do what they can do. They don't try to do things they can't do. They really rebound it. They really attack the glass. They run the floor. They're terrific running the floor.
Charles Montgomery.
Coach, to go a little deeper on Baylor's roster, you already have to deal with Jared Butler, who's arguably one of the best players in the conference. So when you look at Flagler, the new guy for Baylor, what do you see with Flagler, kind of the issues to guarding him and kind of containing his production?
You got to make him shoot it on the move. You can't give them step-in shots. They're going to make step-in shots. All, whatever, 4 or 5 of them are going to make step-in shots. We got it. That's what we got to take away. We got to make them shoot it, score it on the move. We got to do a better job of, when we do make a move, go where we want them to go, not where they want to go. Probably look at the last few minutes of the Texas game, and it would be do everything that we didn't do then. I think that would cover it.
John.
Assuming transition defense, again, important for you on Tuesday. And then 2, how did you think your spacing was offensively?
It was good at times. We got a little balled up at times, but I think generally speaking, it was fine. What'd you ask me?
Transition defense with these guys. They get out and run it like Texas does.
Well, I mean, what you have to be concerned about with them is their bigs. Their bigs run so hard. I mean, their bigs, they got 3 bigs that they alternate in there that all can run and do run. And they get a lot of things, be it cleaning up missed shots or just scoring themselves because they beat other bigs down the floor. But their bigs really, really run. I think their bigs make their transition for them.
Safe to say at this point, playing Texas and then playing Baylor, you just want to try to weather the storm the next few days and just get your guys some, bearings a little bit here until you get to a part of the schedule where it's a little more favorable.
No, we want to win, John.
Yeah.
We want to win. And I mean, you saw the game. We should have won.
Yeah.
We need to win. I mean, you play to win. We're gonna go to Waco and do everything humanly possible to win the game.
Effort was there, right? In the Texas game, particularly in the first half, you didn't have the lull that you had the other 2 games.
No. I mean, we played well enough to win. We just didn't finish it. But that's kind of been. We've had spells where we've done that, and in just about in most games, it just wasn't at the end of the game and so glaring before.
Last one for me. How did the guys take the game? Did they take it exceptionally hard? The way it ended.
They took it real hard.
Yeah. You have to build them back up a little bit, or.
I don't know where that comes from. Actually. I read that where guys are saying, that they have to build their team back up. I mean, if you don't want to play, don't come. I just don't. I don't see that. I mean, I can see, when you play back to back, I can see fatigue a little bit. But I mean, you work all year, and our guys have. They've worked all year. They've worked all year long to get ready for this. I mean, why would they not embellish it and be the best they can possibly be?
guessing the reaction you would prefer is anger, right? And wanting to make do. Is that how you go about it when you lose a tough game like that?
I don't think I talk about anger.
I mean, just the resolve of, hey, man, let's fix what we did and move, move forward.
Yeah, but John, we do that after every game.
Okay.
We've got a lot of things to fix after every game, and we're going to go about trying to fix them. It's just, when things like what happened, it makes it so much more glaring than if you still won. If they miss the last shot rather than make the last shot, everybody's happy.
Yeah.
So I think, and I guess a lot of it is being around my dad and playing for my dad. My dad was so about being on an even keel, all the crazy stuff that guys do, running up and down the floor and making all the signs and gestures. No, he'd have lost his mind. He'd have kicked them all off the team. He was all about, let's do our job and then let's get ready to do our job the next day. It wasn't about, and I mean, I think that the guys of that generation looked at those kind of things as showing off, not really, not really not loving the game, but not using the game for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And so, I'm sure I got a little bit of that in me. I mean, I heard it every day for about the first 18, 19 years of my life. So I'm sure I've got a little bit of that in me.
Mike Casaza.
Morning, Bob. How are things?
Good, Mike.
I have a question for you. Actually, a couple about constructing a roster. Baylor's, I guess, Drew in particular, has kind of changed a little bit in that he's recruiting guys and develop them, redshirting guys, transfers a little bit too. How much has that shifted there from what it was to what it has been, and maybe how much has that kind of continuity in particular helped their success lately?
Well, actually, I was thinking about that today. I think Scott's just ahead of the curve. I think that's what you're going to see basically from now on. People grabbing guys out of the transfer portal, guys going into the transfer portal. I think it's going to be like professional sports. You're just going to be trading pieces. Hopefully they've done a great job of obviously background and what they needed and what they could get. But I mean, his center's terrific, and he scored 3 points a game last year at Vegas, 3, and he's one of the better bigs in our league, and our league is as good as there is in the country. So I don't know that it's become a science yet. I think it's going to come to that. I think you're going to hire people to sit in and just continue to pull up video of guys, multiple videos of guys, and evaluate them from there. We were all worried about with the pandemic. We were all worried about all the virtual stuff and never being able to go out and personally evaluate guys. I think with what's going on with immediate transfer eligibility and all the other things that are going on in our game, I mean, I think guys are going to sit down and evaluate off of film. John Ethnick was the player of the year in the whatever conference, which was a low level conference. I mean, does that translate to him being a good player in the Big 12? I mean, knowing what I know, obviously not, but everybody else wouldn't have the same knowledge that I have.
Is it so broad that it makes it even harder than than it is organically doing the high school stuff and some junior college stuff, because you're thinking, all right, here's a Division II player. Here's a guy who might redshirt and be totally different as a high school recruit. By the way, international guys are popular now too. It just seems like it's so spread out.
I think the majority of what's going to happen is going to be just stealing from other programs. Stealing's not the right word, I guess, but taking guys from other programs, taking guys out of the portal. I think that's what's going to happen. And ironically, the guy who came up with this is the same guy who came up with the APR. So I don't know how those fit together. You know, I've been trying to put those two together, and I've just had a really hard time putting them together.
Last one, is redshirting guys kind of the extent of how you wanted to, I don't know, evolve, adjust in this? Because you've talked about transfers before, and I understand that, but redshirting is kind of new and it can be beneficial just for covering you for the past so many years.
Well, the NCAA gave everybody a red shirt this year,
Mhm.
so you don't have to worry about red shirt. This is a free year. So a guy like Senny, who we conceivably would have redshirted, could have redshirted, he can play and still have his entire eligibility. So they did that for us this year. You know what I think, Mike? I think, you know, depends on the kid. You know, if you redshirt a guy, what stops him? What stops him in October, November, putting his name in a portal and going somewhere else? You know, I want to play now. You know, instead of I want to stay here and work this year and get better so I can be a factor next year. He's going to say I can go play over here. At least that's what they're telling me. I can go play over here and be eligible right away and play right away. Why I would think that a number of kids would do that. Nobody wants to be redshirted. I mean, I sat out a year. It was miserable. It ended up being probably the best thing for me. But at the time, I wanted to play, man. Everybody wants to play.
Back to Greg.
So, Coach, got to ask an Oscar question. Did Cal call you? Did you talk to him?
He texted me.
Mm-hmm. And what was the basis of the conversation? Just said, "Hey, we're doing it," or did he ask you something?
No, he didn't ask me anything.
Charles Montgomery.
Coach, going back to kind of Shaka Smart. So last year, I remember when he was really it was looking like his seat was really warming up and it looked like he was possibly on his way out. You were definitely in his corner as a major supporter with, talking about what he was developing at Texas. And so now, obviously, it's paying off. They're number 4 in the country. Is it something that it's kind of becoming detrimental to just sports in general? We expect this immediate success. Obviously, he's been there a while. But you saw something that he was building, and this is a very veteran program now. Do you think that's changing how we might look at it if you give guys ample amount of time and you kind of lay off the immediate success idea that they will have the success eventually?
Here's what I've thought since being in the league. This is the hardest league in the country. This is the hardest league I've ever played in. When 60% of your coaches have reached the Final Four and a number of other ones, Elite Eights or multiple Elite Eights, you got guys in this league who can really coach. For the last, I don't know how many years, I'd have to look it up, but I know for a fact that we put more guys per team in the NBA than any other league in the country. Way more than the ACC, way more than the Big Ten per school. Now, now they put more in because they have twice the number of teams that we have. But per team, there's no question. So now what you're talking about is the best coaches and the best players in all of college basketball in one league. So, you know, I mean, are we all going to struggle at some point in time? I think so. I think so. I mean, and there's other things. I mean, you know what happened in college basketball. Look at what people are doing. It, and Shaka never got caught up in that, you know, which is, I think, a tremendous tribute to him. And he was playing young guards, you know, much like we are, playing young guards that are going to get better and better and better. And he was fortunate enough that his guards didn't lose their mind and declare for the draft and not get drafted and end up, you know, bouncing around in Slovenia or somewhere. They stayed the course. And I think that's a great tribute to Shaka and his relationship with his players. And, you know, he's known Coleman since Coleman was a little kid. Worked for his dad. Shaka worked for his dad. So, you know, he had a leader right there that was going to stay the course because of relationships. And I said before the game, if you go back and look, the difference in their team is their experience at the guard. What beat us in the end? Their experience at the guard position. So, you know, I mean, I'm not clairvoyant, but I know a little bit about this game, and I know the guy can coach. I mean, I've studied his teams enough in scouting to know that he can coach. They do things the right way.
Tom Bragg.
Hey, Bob, I asked a couple of the guys about this last week, and they had pretty favorable reviews. Curious your perspective, what it's like having Wani back around and what he's maybe brought to the table with this group.
Well, he's a great guy for them to bounce things off of. I mean, Wani was a heck of a college player and was a heck of a pro. You know, and he's been there, done it, and seen it. So, and you know, and he's had his ups and downs like everybody does and has. And I think he relates to him better. I mean, at the year I was a GA here, they all came to me just because I had been there before. Not that I was smarter or anything else. It's just that I had been there before. I'd been through it. And I think Wani's the same way. And then Wani's got a lot of knowledge. Wani's got a lot of knowledge I didn't have. I didn't go to Europe and play. I didn't play professionally like he has. So he's got a wealth of knowledge that, I mean, they'd be foolish not to try to absorb some of the things that he knows about that other people don't.
Kevin Kinder.
Coach, how much did the flu symptoms affect your rotation, how you would have liked to use people, and where is your health right now heading to Baylor?
I don't know. We just got tested again. I won't know till later today what the results are. But I mean, we had a guy with the flu really bad, obviously, and then we had a couple guys that kind of had flu symptoms more than, you know, it didn't knock them down like it knocked Keedy down. But I mean, as of yesterday, everybody was there and everybody was fine. I mean, Derek's beat up, man. I mean, those guys have beat him up. He spent 2 or 3 days, you know, trying to get his back where he could bend over last week before the Texas game. He's got some swelling in his knee. I mean, they've just pounded on him to no end. So he's spent more time in a training room. He doesn't want to be there. Derek's not the kind of guy that wants to be in. He doesn't want to be there. And actually, I'm making him go in there just so we can get him to where he can play. But I think it's been what affected us the most wasn't the flu. It was Derek just not being Derek.
I mean, looking at his production, obviously it's been tremendous though. I mean, you think he'd be that much better if, he wasn't fighting all of these things?
I think it'd been a lot better. I think he'd been a lot better. If you noticed, he didn't catch the ball in the paint. He was off the paint so much. And that's because he gets tired of somebody having their knee up his rear end and pushing on him like they're trying to push a truck up a hill. And so, you give a little bit, and when you give a little bit, they push him out of the lane.
Great.
No, I think his production would have been a lot better.
So, Bob, you said you don't like your defense as of late, but offensively, what have you thought the last couple games, or at least the last game and a half?
Well, what happens when you play that way, John, is you have to make shots. You have to make shots. And I mean, go back and look. Taz had a shot in transition. Sean had a wide open shot in transition, wide open in a corner, a three that would have put the game out of reach, and it didn't go down. It wasn't a bad shot, and it's one of those ones that hit the rim about 4 times before it decided to fall out rather than fall in. But you got to make shots, man. You got to make shots, because we're not the kind of team that we were at one time where we could score off our defense. I mean, everybody I talk to in this league is like, man, am I glad you don't have Carter and Dax. Man, those two guys just. And that's not to mention Tariq and Jay Sean and all those other guys. But how many points did we score off our defense? We don't score off our defense now.
Back to John.
Curious, it looks like you're getting pretty creative with your minutes to try to steal some rest time for Derek and Deuce, using guys up against the media timeouts. So you coming up with some things to try to steal a minute or two for these guys to get them some rest?
Well, we're trying to get them some rest, yeah. But I mean, we've done that from the beginning. We just, we had a couple games where we couldn't afford to do it, and then we had some games where we got a big enough lead that it wasn't as noticeable taking them out and resting them. So,
having said that, both of them logged serious minutes against Texas. I think Deuce had 37. I think Derek 36.
yeah,
So you can't keep them off the floor.
can't keep them off the floor very long.
Mm-hmm.
Last question for Justin.
Hey, Coach, I saw, I guess it was like a few days ago, Isaiah Cottrell had tweeted that he was getting ready for surgery. I just wondering, how did the surgery go, and his rehab getting ready for next year? What would that timeline be like for him?
Well, according to Dr. Ball and according to his mother, the surgery went as well as could be. I mean, it was a very, very good surgery. Isaiah's already started doing whatever it is that they allow him to do at this point, which obviously isn't very much right now, but he's already doing that. He will continue to do that. I mean, Isaiah wants to play. He wants to play, and I think something that I love is he wants to do it in a West Virginia uniform. He wants to play at West Virginia. He wants to represent the state. Loves the state. Loves the people. So he's on a mission to be able to come back and play. And I mean, we've talked about it many times before. You get a 6'10" guy who can stretch the floor, which he can. He's a really good jump shooter, and can pass. His skill level surpasses any of the other bigs that we have in terms of skill. So, and communicating with his mother last night. I mean, everything went as well and it's going as well as it possibly can go.
I'm assuming, I don't know much about the injury. I'm assuming that's going to be remainder of the season kind of thing. He'll be out, or
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's probably fair to say.
yeah. It's still not as bad as like an ACL though, is it? I mean, I don't know much about. I'm not a doctor, obviously, but
I think it might be, I think it's every bit as bad, or it could be a little worse.
okay.
It's not as, and I say that because it's not as common. You know, doctors do ACLs virtually every day. This isn't something that happens every day. And you know, certainly don't want to rush it. I mean, the kid's got a great future.
Yeah.
Coach, I think that's it. Thank you for your time. Thanks everybody for calling in.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Coach.